Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the channel, and today I'm going to be attempting to recreate what is considered the first successful VTOL airplane. Yet despite its success, it still never made it past the prototype stage. Let's take a look at why. So this is the Convair XFY Pogo. They called these things tail-sitter planes. Can you guess why? Give you one guess. Yes, it's because they actually sat on their tails on the runway. Now, we have taken a look at some similar concepts that were less successful than this thing, but let's take a look at why this thing was a success and also why it was kind of a failure of success. So the reason it was called a pogo is because you can see this landing gear sticking out here from the tail when it's actually not on the ground. Then if I switch back over to this image, you can see it's compressed here on the tail. So it kind of compresses like a pogo stick. That's really as much thought that went into the name. I mean, it's a relatively insignificant part of the entire plane itself. I think it's kind of funny that they focused on that for the name. But anyway, Vtol Technology in the 1950s was a very sought after technology to develop. The idea of your planes not needing a runway to take off and be able to fly into battle was very, very appealing. And there were many, many different attempts at trying to accomplish this task. And a lot of them were just failures, as we've seen on the channel before. But this one actually succeeded. As far as I could find, this plane holds the record for the first actual vertical takeoff and transitioning to horizontal flight and then transitioning back to vertical landing. And not only did it succeed at vertical takeoff and landing, but it was actually exceedingly well at flying horizontal. It was really fast compared to other aircraft during that time. So you may be wondering, with all of these amazing benefits, why didn't it succeed past its prototype stage? Well, you see, the problem with this VTOL was the vertical taking off and landing part. Turns out it's very, very hard to do. So here's a clip here of it actually taking off and transitioning into horizontal flight. I'll leave a link to this whole 9-minute video in the description. I just want to show you particular parts of this. So in order to successfully take off, the transition had to be very, very gradual because these wings are not going to provide any horizontal lift without horizontal speed. So you have to slowly build up that speed as you tilt. Otherwise, you're not going to have any lift when you tilt to the side because these propellers are going to be transitioning to just horizontal velocity instead of vertical velocity. So if you weren't really, really careful with this, you'd basically just fall out of the sky. But even harder than transitioning from the takeoff was transitioning to the landing. So basically, it's kind of exactly what you would expect you would have to do. You basically have to slow yourself down, angle yourself way up into the sky, and get gradually more and more vertical as you lower the throttle, slowly transitioning into a hover, and then you would have to gradually lower yourself back down onto the ground with much more difficult controls. And not only that, but you're sitting in a seat looking over your shoulder back at the ground. I believe the seat did tilt like 45 degrees, so you had some assistance looking at the ground over your shoulder, but you still had to look over your shoulder while you're piloting this thing. I mean, just look at this clip right here. Look at these ailerons in action here. It required a ton of adjustment in order to land vertically on this thing. And not only that, but coming down vertically, it's extremely difficult from that perspective to tell how fast you're going down and how quickly the ground is approaching. And then you can see the pogo effect in action as it lands there. So in short, not just any pilot could hop in this seat and start taking this thing into the skies. It took a lot of skill and was a lot more dangerous. This also had another pretty big limitation in that what happens when the engine fails? You may have noticed that this thing doesn't really have any standard landing gear. In a normal plane, when the engine fails, you still have wings. So you can just hope that there's a good landing spot nearby and glide yourself down there and land. But with this thing, I mean, you can still glide yourself down to the ground, but you don't have any landing gear. So apparently they did have a plan for that, where this bottom tail would actually detach in the case of an engine failure, and then you would just land on the belly, which of course that's gonna just destroy the props as well. And you lost your tail somewhere, who knows where at that point, and the whole bottom of the thing is going to get all scraped up, you know, because you don't have wheels. So if your engine gets damaged and fails somehow, you're inevitably gonna have to damage a lot of the rest of your plane. But I think the main reason why this thing never really saw full production is that more modern jet fighters started to become a thing, and they just kind of put it to shame. And it also allowed for different types of VTOLs, much like the Harrier jet that just stays horizontal while it redirects thrust downwards. So this design may be lost to history, but today I'm gonna bring it back for another 15 minutes of fame and try to recreate this tail sitter. Let's get over to the game. All right, so I'm going to use these propellers for my propulsion. The original design had counter-rotating propellers, but these don't actually provide torque, and they don't really have a visible direction of rotation when they're actually spinning, so it's not really gonna matter if they're counter-rotating or not, but it did have dual propellers on it, so I'm gonna be using 2 propellers. So now I think I'm gonna run into a similar issue with the hovering controls that I did with a previous VTOL design. When I'm hovering, my ailerons and control surfaces are gonna have no airflow over them, unlike in real life where these propellers would actually be pushing air over those control surfaces. So that's how this thing was able to control itself in its vertical takeoff and landing mode. But video game physics are not working quite the same way, so I'm gonna have to compensate for that somehow. All right, so the interesting thing about the proportions of this is it's mostly wings. It's a very, very stubby, compact build. And the wings come from like right up, they originate from right where the cockpit's pretty much starting and just go all the way down to the tail. All right, so this is my wing design, trying to stay true to the massive wing that is on the side of this thing. So let's go ahead and just copy and paste that to the other side, and oh boy, did I make this too big? Okay, I made some adjustments. I think the left wing here is actually a more reasonable size. All right, so let's copy this back over. Oh yeah, that looks much better. Yeah, I made it way too big at first. Hopefully this is enough to give us the lift that we need. Hopefully these propellers are enough to give us the lift that we need too. Okay, so now for the slightly smaller top and bottom tails. Okay, I think I got the wings all figured out the best I could, even with control surfaces on them. So let me show you how they work. So for my pitch, I think I have to use these for pitch. And then for roll, I'm actually gonna be using the top and bottom wings going opposite directions from each other to initiate roll, because I'm not gonna be getting pitch from my top and bottom wings at all. So I figured that's where it's gonna come from. Let's see if we can even hover. Ready, go. You can see the propellers are spinning, but not a lot is happening. I think we might need some thruster assistance. I mean, the original was using turbojet propellers, which I think are stronger than what these propellers are based off of. So I'm gonna try to hide some mini jets in here as best I can, just to give me a little bit of that extra boost. All right, I'm capable of lifting off the ground now, but there is a major issue. Well, all right, first let me actually get horizontal. It's gonna take a little bit here. There we go, just like the real thing, nice and gradual. So now the problem is all of my lift is kind of in the back because that's where all the wings are. Like I have the appearance of wings up in the front by the cockpit, but those are not lift surfaces according to game calculations. So I have to I'm pitching up as much as I can right now, basically, with my ailerons there. I can probably adjust the angle of that to be more extreme, but yeah, this thing's got some issues right now. Definitely needs some working out because if I just try to fly straight, I nosedive like crazy. All right, so I've had to redesign the wings a little bit. I replaced the ailerons with much thinner wings, so they're not gonna be providing as much lift so far back. I've taken out a huge section of wing right here, and I have added more wings up here, as well as these fins up here to provide some more stability up in the front. All right, so let's see if we're capable of taking off now. Oh, that is a bad takeoff trajectory. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of issues with this thing. First of all, the cockpit is really heavy, so it's putting all of the weight on that side, which I guess I could counteract that somehow. Cockpit is 25 kilograms, so I'm gonna add 30 kilograms right there. Oh, there we go. That helped out a lot. Wow, look at that. Okay, now let's level off horizontal. See how we fly like this. It's a little bit better, but as you can see, if I don't do anything, I nose down like crazy. So it does require, I mean, normal planes would have a trim setting that could counteract this. I don't have that right now. But this is flying right now. This looks like some sort of Star Wars creation. Doesn't even look like a real thing that existed. Oh boy, it is so, the pitch is so sensitive though. It's like sensitive and not sensitive at the same time. It's floaty. That's the word I'm looking for. The pitch is very, very floaty. It seems like it just wants to float about its axis. I mean, we're not nearly as fast as the original. The original could get close to like 500 miles per hour. We're only at like 100 and something, but we don't have turboprops on our side. Oh no. All right, let's paint this thing up and see if we can actually do a successful takeoff, vertical takeoff, horizontal flight, and vertical landing, and match that level of performance from the original design. All right, and to compensate from lack of airflow and to aid me with the landing, I've added a rotating servo here to act as yaw. So then when I'm up in the air, I can rotate that to actually tilt me in that direction. And the seat controls themselves actually do a good enough job with the pitch. Oh my goodness. All right, so considering this is a vertical takeoff and vertical landing, my goal is to fly up into the air off the ground. I'm gonna try to fly around that mountain and then come down for a landing on the helipad up there. I really don't know if I'm gonna have that much precision over where I'm landing vertically, considering I gotta do that whole swoop up and everything, but here we go, let's give it a try. Very nice takeoff, actually. Is this thing symmetrical? Something looks off. Yeah, you guys will point it out in the comments if something's actually not symmetrical here. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this way. I'm gonna go around the mountain this way. All right, we have achieved horizontal flight. First successful part of the transition done. And now the harder parts, transitioning back to vertical landing. Vertical takeoff is easy. Horizontal flight, pretty easy transition. But going back to vertical landing, I don't know about that. All right, there's the helipad. Let's see how we do here. So we gotta slow ourselves down as we approach. Okay, here we go. Okay, getting into that position was easier than I thought it was going to be. Now I have to really control this thing. Oh my goodness. Oh, this might actually work. Oh boy. Oh, hold on. I really want to land on the helipad. Okay. Oh, this is not working out very well. Oh, it takes so much. It takes so much tuning of the controls. Coming down. Oh, that was actually pretty soft. I don't think we even broke anything. That was a really awesome landing. The Pogos did their job. Dare I attempt a return trip? Oh boy, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just quit while I was ahead. All right, well, we have a really quick transition to, okay, now we're just nosediving. That's fine though. But we can really transition quickly to vertical flight with this thing. I mean, to horizontal flight with this thing. All right, here we go. We're coming in for the return trip down to the aircraft carrier. Uh-oh. Oh, no. I have way too much momentum going downward. This is bad. Perfect. All right, the return trip, I overestimated the power this thing had. I couldn't overcome the falling velocity. But we had a successful vertical takeoff, horizontal flight, followed by vertical landing with this very awkward replica of the Convair Pogo. So once again, I'll leave a link to everything referenced in this video down in the description if you want to look more into it. If you enjoyed this recreation, you'll probably enjoy some other recreations you can find right here on the end screen. Hope this video has earned your subscription. Anyway, this has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.